Hi guys, welcome to my channel, and I'm still your girl Iseoluwa, yes. And yes, we're doing a review of the journey of an African colony. And yes, in my previous video I mentioned how that it is imperative for us as a people who wants to move forward, who wants to progress, to know where we're coming from. Because see, for us to move forward at all, we have to know where we're coming from, where we are now, and where we're going. That's the only way we can know where we're going. And that is why I decided to do a review of the journey of an African colony. The Journey of an African Colony is a documentary written and produced by Olashupo Shashore. And yes, I'm going to be friends with my sticky notes today because I jotted down a lot of things. And see guys, you would think you know. That's actually ignorance is a very, how will I say it, powerful thing. It could be powerful. Not knowing could be detrimental. I saw a tweet yesterday about, imagine Adolf Hitler, the same Adolf Hitler that we know now wants to become the president of Germany. And that's actually the same thing that we did with Buhari. Well, for those of you who supported him, anyways, disclaimer, I didn't support him. But for those of you who supported him, that's actually the same thing that we did. We're bringing a dictator to become the president because we believe that he has changed, or he will. It's sad. And this is a big mistake that we have made, and we have realized it. And hopefully moving on from here, we would make better choices. And see, this is why history is actually important. This is why knowledge is actually important. A lot of us don't actually know the history of Nigeria. We don't. Even me, that I used to think in my mind that I knew history. When I started watching the Journey of an African Colony, I realized a lot of things. I'm like, really? This one too. So it's actually important that we know where we are coming from. It's important that we know our history. And see, it's just sad that in Nigeria we don't learn history in our schools, primary school, secondary school, tertiary institutions. We don't learn history at all. Like, the only reason that you know a little bit of history is if you probably did government in secondary school. And even the history that they teach us, the supposed history they teach us, is Yakubu Gowon was the youngest head of state. Something was the first head of state. Like, details that are as good as not unimportant. It's just good for you to know. It's like when you're having conversations, you not sound stupid, but because there are things that everybody should know, but they're not actually teaching us history. We actually don't know our history. And so yes, I think I've done enough of the motivation talk. So let's get into the review of the Journey of an African Colony. All right, guys, so the clip that you just saw is the only clip that you're going to be seeing from this old documentary, and the reason is because for reasons like copyright restrictions and all of that, I wouldn't be able to show you clips from the documentary. However, I would be putting screenshots of spectacular things on the screen from time to time, so that you can see and have a picture of what it looks like. I'm a creative too, and I wouldn't want somebody to just stop my work and just put it on YouTube for the whole world to see without my permission and all of that. So yes, that's the reason for that. And please credit The Journey of an African Colony was written and produced by Olashukwu Shashore, and a lot of things I'm going to be saying, I'm basically just going to be quoting him verbatim. Yeah. So yes, The Journey of an African Colony. All right. It started in, I think I got this wrong. This should be 1744. This cannot be 1944. All right. I think it should be 1744. 10 Africans were transported to Portugal as gifts to the Prince Henry the Navigator. All right. And these Africans, black Africans, were transported to Portugal as gifts in the royal court, and they were played with. They were the word used was they were examined, they were toyed with, because they looked different. And soon after that, slave trade started, gaining prominence. They started taking people from Africa to other African countries and to European countries. So now the region where they took these black people from, they called it all right, let's start with the black people themselves. The black people that were taken to Guinea, they called I just spilled the card. The black people that were taken to Portugal were called Guinea meaning a dark-skinned person. And the place where they got these people from, they called Guinea land. And they divided the Guinea land into territories. They basically called it names. They called the Guinea territory names like the Gold Coast, the Slave Coast, and the Grain Coast. So these were the coasts where they were coming to take gold, to take slaves, to take grains, and all of that. And yes, so let's move. All right. So they were taking human cargo, grains, gold. And yes, one major thing that I actually learned watching this documentary is there's this lie that they actually sold to us, that they made us believe that Africans were just selling Africans cheap, that brothers were betraying brothers like for close to the value of nothing. But this is actually not true. This is not true. They came to Africa in search of slaves to raid and to buy. However, when they came to Africa and they got to this Guinea lands, they started going to port settlements, that is places that were close to the sea, to the oceans, because of transportation. It was easier for them to transport slaves from port settlements like that. And yes, of course, Badagry and Lagos were prominent places. I wrote down, I'm still going to talk about that, but let me talk about Badagry. Badagry was one of actually the easiest places for them, because for them to capture slaves, they only had a 15-minute walk to the Atlantic Ocean. So this is less than a mile, and they could in 20 minutes board is it 200 or 800 slaves in 20 minutes. They could board 800 slaves on the ship, to sail out to the Atlantic Ocean. And yes, as I was saying that, they made us believe that we were just selling our brothers and we had no values and we're just cheap, and it was just all a lie, guys. These guys literally instigated wars. They were kidnapping people. They lured people to the shores and all of that. And I have something here that okay, I think I wrote somewhere that fishing and baiting by the sea, by the shore, became dangerous for many African villages, such that they in their own lands they could not go See, we know that before civilization and everything, there were no tap waters, there were no, oh, I have ball in my house, there were no wells. So of course people used to go to the streams, they used to go to the shores to wash, to bathe, to do their chores, and basic things that needed water. And this now became dangerous because these people were always waiting, laying ambush for them to come out, and so that they can capture and kidnap them. And this is really sad. So sad. Yeah, it is. All right. And okay, so the major points in see, I'm just so grateful for this documentary because it opened my eyes to a lot of things. Oftentimes when they are talking about slave trade and all of that, we don't really picture Nigeria to be one of the places where they actually captured a lot of slaves, or they even captured slaves at all. And this was because it was intentionally done. See, the how will I say it? How terrible it was. So terrible, yes. The slave trade game in Nigeria was so terrible that they tried their best to suppress the story and omit and hide it. According to statistics, you're going to be seeing, I'm going to be putting the details somewhere here on the screen. 4,803 million Nigerians were captured within a short period of time from Bonny Island, Benin, Old Calabar, New Calabar, and Lagos. All right. I'm still going to get there. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to be seeing again somewhere on the screen what the Antera Duke said. The Antera Duke was a slave trader, was a trader, an ethnic trader in the Old Calabar Kingdom. So Olashupo Shashore was saying in the documentary how that he was talking about diaspora, the word diaspora, and he talked about how that it meant somebody who sojourns to another place. But the sad thing about the effect of colonialism and of slave trade was the fact that these people were taken away from their hometowns. Yeah, it's a different thing when I'm leaving Nigeria and I say, oh, I'm going to Canada, I'm relocating on my own. There's still an attachment that I have to my hometown. Yeah, I know I'm from Ilorin, I'm not from Ilorin, I'm from Kwara. Yes, I'm from Kwara. I know I'm from Nigeria, I'm from Kwara and all of that. But these people were just taken away from their hometowns. A lot of them could not, even say that, oh, they belong to, of course, they knew that, okay, I'm from Oyo, I'm from this, I'm from that. But what we now know as modern Nigerian states were geographical locations that were grouped together. Oyo was majorly like the whole of the southwest as we know it now, geopolitical zone. Yes, Oyo was like the whole of like the southwest, Oyo and Lagos majorly. This part is actually essential. He explained the detachment, how that these people were actually detached from their homelands and from their culture, from their heritage, from their history, such that they don't even, as much as they can trace their genealogy back to Africa, but they don't have a connection to their root, as it were. Yeah, that's the whole point of the story. Yes. And he called it the absence of the homeland permanent ties. All right. And also let's explore in the documentary he explored the economic effects and the economic effects he had on African colonies, especially Nigeria. So the British colony needed labor and money to build their empire, as it were. And of course, where did they get all those resources? From the Guinea land, the Gold Coast. They came to not just enslave people, not just to enslave us, but also to take our money, our natural resources, our gold, our everything that we had. And the funny thing about these people is we cannot even say that this was thieves. You took our resources, took our people to still work in your country, to build your economy, they were the factory workers, they were the laborers, they were the ones farming and doing all the strenuous works. You took our resources, and you were not just using it to build your empire, you were using it to run. Watching this documentary, I learned that the British colonies in Africa were actually, the money that were used to fund the British colonies were actually from the African countries, and then the rest of the funds were taken to the imperial treasury in Britain, where they were using it to build their economy, using it to push and foster the industrial revolution that they supposedly promised African countries to. And they were not just doing this, but they were still saving in foreign reserve. Like, it's not like they were even just taking from us to build their country and let's just steal from this person and eat and be okay. No, they were now still building foreign reserve from our own resources. Alright, and then the episode 2 explores the taking over of territories of the then territories before they were called Nigeria, and the story of Lagos was told, and the story of Lagos is actually really heartbreaking. Now, in Lagos, prior to the British colony trying to take over Lagos, the reason they wanted to take over Lagos was because they knew all the economic advantage that there was taking over Lagos, because Lagos is surrounded by the ocean. So of course it was easy to transport people, resources and all of that, and there were resources, and let's just move on. So today watching this documentary, I learned about the history of the Oba Kosoko and Oba Akitoye, not Akintoye. Oba Kosoko was the nephew of Oba Akitoye, who overthrew his uncle. And the British people, what they basically did was just to take advantage of this. So yes, initially in November 1851, the British naval, which was then the strongest naval world power then, came to Lagos, and they tried to initially take over Lagos. They tried to invade Lagos and take over Lagos. However, in Olashopo's words, he said Africans had inflicted injury and loss of pride on them. So it means that they were not successful at their first attempt when they came in November 25. On the 25th of November 1851, they were not successful because the Africans were ready, and they inflicted pain on them, and some of them died, few of them, whatever. Now, to take over Lagos, what they simply did was they formed an ally with Oba Akitoye, who was the uncle that was dethroned by his nephew, Oba Kosoko. And Oba Akitoye willfully sold his people out because he wanted to get his throne back by all means, and he formed an ally again with Britain and the British Navy to take over Lagos. And after the attack, there was a massive attack on Lagos. And after the attack, history had it that they never actually tell us the stories. I didn't know the stories. I'm just new to the stories. History has it that the kingdom of Lagos, the then kingdom of Lagos, was about the population of 22,000, and after this attack, only 5,000 to 6,000 people survived. 90% were gone after the invasion. Not only did they destroy the infrastructures, people's homes were gone, people's farms were gone, people's means of livelihood were gone, lives were lost. From a kingdom of over 22,000 population to now 5,000. That shows us the kind of havoc that these people wreaked on the kingdom of Lagos. And it's just so sad. I'm going to be displaying some details about all of this on the screen somewhere. Now, subsequently, in 1861, the British Council and the Royal Navy, they warned initially, then threatened, and later forced the King Dosunmu to sign a treaty that gave over the authority over the whole kingdom of Lagos to the British colony. So that was when they established the Royal British colony in Lagos. Alright. And also, yes, the Berlin Conference. What led to the Berlin Conference was, well, if these stories I'm just giving you are just basically summaries. If you watch the documentary, they are more detailed. Prior to this Berlin Conference story I'm going to be telling you, there's the story of the people who were looking for the sources of the African rivers and died in Congo. That's the British guys that came, the Europeans that came. So yes, what led to the Berlin Conference, what we now know as Berlin Conference, which was initially called the African Conference, the African Conference that had no African at all in the conference. Is that not funny? Very funny, yeah. What led to the Berlin Conference was the fact that Belgium, the King of Belgium, King Alexander of Belgium, took over Congo because took over Congo. Remember I was telling you about stories of Congo. Please watch the documentary. It's very, very educative. Took over Congo, and then the world powers felt threatened because they felt like, oh, if a small country that was not even a world power then, and I don't even think it's still a world power now, took over Congo, that other smaller countries could start trying to claim authority over African countries. That was why they now did the Berlin Conference. And what they basically did in the Berlin Conference was they divided Africa, and they now, each person now took it as, okay, this one is my own, this one is your own, this one is your own. You know, the funny thing is, they used to make us seem like the amalgamation of Nigeria was because, oh, they wanted to bring, what they sold to us was the idea of the one Nigeria idea, where, you know, every tribe and every tongue and everybody will just come together and, you know, we have one Nigeria. And, you know, God, I felt so sad watching this documentary. When you watch that that clip that I showed, you see the fact that the women that were alive during, you know, the Independence Day, on the Independence Day ceremony, they were talking about how that, you know, a new Nigeria was bettered. They saw the raising up of the flag and the bringing down of the British flag and all of that. When the amalgamation was done in 1918, and Nigeria was initially the Niger territory, the reason was was actually because after they had now divided the territories, after the Berlin Conference, and they had divided the territories, now what Britain wanted to do was, Britain wanted to ensure that he had authority over all his colonies. So what he did was, he brought the neighboring regions where they had colonies. They now brought all of us together, yeah, to form one country, one territory. That's what it was called, the Niger territory, one territory. And the reason they did this was so that it would become difficult for other world powers to penetrate their territory, the Niger territory that they created. So you can see that it was not because of us that they did it. No. Also, yes, the story of Jaja of Opobo. Prior to this time, I used to think that Jaja of Opobo was an hero. Well, you can say he was an hero in a way because, you know, he died struggling eventually. But did you know that his name was not even Jaja? And did you even know that Opobo was actually a community that he created? So, Jaja, his name was Ibanansu. He was, you know, he was a slave boy somewhere around the Benin colony, and, you know, the name Jaja was actually given to him by the Benin traders because he was known, he was a notorious trader. Now, the Jaja of Opobo, what he did was basically he took his clan and went to create a settlement near to the commercial market, yeah, of slaves. Near to the commercial market of slaves. Now, by doing that, he gained domination over that territory. And what he now did is he now established his kingdom as the Jaja of Opobo. That was the name they gave him. That was the name he now took on, the Jaja of Opobo. He now signed a treaty with the British colony, such that he was going to be trading slaves to them. going to be forming an ally with the British colony against the natives to sell slaves and all of that. And history even has it that Jaja of Opobo actually sent a troop to support the British fighters to defeat the people of Ashanti. Now, you're now wondering, okay, why did they now capture him? What now led them to capture him was the fact that initially in the Berlin conference, they gave him, there was more like the treaty he signed with them was that they gave him the right to be in charge of slave trade in that particular area. So, he dictated the slave market there. He dictated, and because he was he controlled the trade there, he controlled the price. And when King Henry, now Governor Henry or whatever his name was, now came in control, he had issues with that. Is it Henry or John? John Henry, I don't know, those names are confusing. When he came into power, he believes that the British Empire wanted Jaja of Opobo out because they wanted a sole control of the trade market. And what they did was they invited him for a query or a meeting, something like that. You're going to be seeing, I'm going to be displaying it, don't worry, pictures for you. And when he got there, immediately they captured him. They took him to Accra, where they did a trial for him, and they said they found him guilty. And from Accra, they exiled him to West Indies. Was it West Indies? Yes, I think it was West Indies. From Accra, they took him to West Indies, and he died trying to return home. So that's why oftentimes, see, we just actually need to have our facts together, because we actually think that this guy was fighting for freedom and was probably an Awolowo doing we no go gree or solidarity forever. But no, the only reason why the British colony wanted him out was because his treaty or his partnership with them was no longer favorable for them, because he was now in control of the market. And yes, the reason a lot of people probably refer to him as an hero or something like that was because he actually died trying to return home. So yes, the Oba of Ovoranwe. Oh God. Okay, so I have two favorite books, Harry Potter and Trials of Oba Ovoranwe. I like the Trials of Oba Ovoranwe that was written by Ahmed Yarima. Yes, my only beloved Ahmed Yarima, my professor, and my let's just leave the story. Yes, Oba Ovoranwe, Trials of Ovoranwe. I think you should also read that story if you can lay your hands on it. That story is an historical story. It talks about the taking over of the Benin Kingdom by the British Empire, and Olashupa also explored this. So what happened in Benin was that they were having their festival. There's this festival that they do in Benin. They call it Agu or something like that. And the British Philip Collins, I think he was the one that was the governor, the British colony governor then. Now, he said that he was sending men to Benin Kingdom. He was sending men to Benin Kingdom, because he wanted the king of the Oba of Oranwe of Benin had earlier signed a treaty with them, which also put his kingdom in, as it were, under the protection of the British colony. However, there was a misunderstanding. So now this is how it is. The Oba of Benin believes that, by signing this treaty, it means that the British colony is going to just protect me, however, not take over my kingdom. So of course, he wasn't willing to give them power over his kingdom. And he had signed the treaty. They felt like, this guy was rebellious, he signed treaty and all of that. So there was a misunderstanding somewhere, and they sent troops to Benin. Despite the warning of the Benin people for them not to come at such a time when they had their festival. Now, when they sent this troop, the Benin people actually killed and attacked these people. Only 2 people survived. Like, only 2 white guys survived out of the people that came. So of course those ones went back, and only for the Benin people to come back after, was it a month or after some certain period of time. And that was the period that was referred to as the Benin expedition. Yes, and there were basically two massacres that were referenced to this time. That was that of the white people initially, which was actually of course, the mild one, and eventually there was a massacre of the Benin people where they came to Benin. They sent a troop of 1,500 armed, trained men to capture Benin. And yes, they set ablaze the palace of the Oba of Benin. They attacked, they leashed an attack on Benin, and they captured the Benin kingdom. Now, Olashukwu said something in this documentary. He said that so when they captured the Benin kingdom, they didn't just, as the culture of colonialism is, of course, every capture, every fight was basically to the end of economic exploitation. So of course, when they captured the kingdom of Benin, they carted away their artifacts, and Benin is actually known for a lot of artifacts, and these artifacts will be found in places like Britain today, France, America, and the world powers as we have them. And he said something that was vital. He said what happened in Benin was not just the loss of lives, but the loss of culture and history. So of course, it's a different thing for you to kill their people and now take away their history. So they didn't just kill the people of Benin in the massacre. They killed the people of Benin, but also they took away cultural artifacts, things that had cultural significance to the people of Benin, hence also stealing from them their culture and their history. And he also mentioned the arrow. I'm sorry this video is long, but this is the end of this particular video. He also mentioned how that they captured what is known to be like how they. So now this is how these guys used to work. If they want to capture the whole Yoruba speaking region, what they do is they look for the strength of that region. Probably the Oyo Empire is the strength. And according to what I even heard, the Oyo Empire was actually easy to penetrate because the Alaafin of Oyo easily just signed a treaty with them. So basically what they do is they look for a strong point in that, probably if they want to capture the Igbo people, they just look for like the strongest community, the strongest kingdom in that area, and they capture them. And once they can capture them, it's now easier for them to now subdue the other guys, So that was the same thing they did. They went to the east, and then there were these people called Aro. They are like the progenitors of the modern day Anambra. They went there and they went to capture them. This was in 1902, whatever. And they went to capture them, and from there they soon spread to the whole of the north of the east. So yes, I've come to the end of these 2 episodes of the review of these 2 episodes, guys. Please, if you can, watch this documentary. Please. It's very vital that we are abreast with our culture, that we are abreast with our history, that we know where we are coming from. It's just sad because I never, when I hear the story of slave trade, I never used to imagine Nigeria. In all of my mind, I just used to see Congo, Senegal, all this. Like I just used to imagine other African countries, but never Nigeria. And I didn't even know that 40% of the old slaves that were captured in Africa were actually from Nigeria. And the only reason that this story has been suppressed and has been omitted is actually because they don't want us to know how terrible they enslaved and penetrated Nigeria. So please, if you can lay your hands on this, watch The Journey of an African Colony. In fact, if it's possible for you to just subscribe to Netflix because you want to watch Journey of an African Colony, please do that. So yes, episode 1 and episode 2. This is the review of episode 1 and episode 2, and subsequently I'm going to be giving you the reviews of the other episodes. So please stay tuned to this channel. Very soon, hopefully when Citation is out, I'm going to be doing a review. I heard Citation is going to be out on Netflix Friday. So hopefully when it's out on Friday, I'll be the first person to give you a review. Stay tuned to this channel. If you're not yet subscribed, I don't know what you're still waiting for. But if you're subscribed and you're part of the clan and you're part of the community, you know I love you. You know now I'm your girl, Iseoluwa. And just stay tuned and glued to the space. You don't want to miss out on any amazing content. So I love you guys. Bye guys.